Boom. Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Judah Hoover. That guy way over there is the one and only Josh Weidman, and we've got a special guest with us, Chadd Naugle, today. This is the Build and Grow with Real Estate show. I am a full-time real estate investor and a realtor. Josh over there is a full-time real estate investor and a hard money lender. And the Build and Grow with Real Estate show is all about building your wealth, meaning working a paycheck, getting your money. We think real estate is the best way to do that, and then also growing your wealth by owning real estate. So we think real estate as an appraiser, as a realtor, as a lender, as a contractor, whatever it is you want to do is a great way to earn a living. And it is even a better way to build a generational changing, I was stuck on the word generational there, a generational changing wealth vehicle so that you've got something of value, tangible assets that you can pass on to your children. And so Josh, I don't know where you missed the memo. Chadd and I both have our red or burgundy sweatshirts on today, and you don't have yours on.
Listen, I'm plain and gray, and I'm trying to dress accordance with the weather. I mean, right. I know, Lancaster County, South Carolina, it might be completely different. Right here, it's a gray, white sky. It's not really exciting. Are you drinking a beer? I am jealous. Yes. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. I'm gonna start that every Friday. So every Friday show with a beer. That's awesome. Chadd, welcome to the show, man. I'm excited.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm really excited to have Chadd on today, Josh, because Chadd is a guy. So I run a real estate investors club in real life when the government allows us to meet. So, and Chadd's one of these guys who was like coming to my club for like a year or two or whatever. And then one day he's like, hey, Judah, I want to sit down. Like, I've done a little bit, I've done a couple deals, but like, I'm ready to take this to the next level. And I have some questions to ask you. And so Chadd and I sit down, he asked me a bunch of questions. We get some stuff ironed out. And he and I, we'd always talked and everything like that. And he's like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I hear a lot of people say that, you know what I mean? I don't want to say I didn't believe Chadd or whatever, but like, I hear a lot of people saying, this is going to be the year for me. Well, damned it if it wasn't the year for Chadd. And like, no joke, that was like 7 years ago. No joke. Over the last 7 years, Chadd's done more real estate deals than I have. He's done at least 20 to 25 deals a year, every year, year in and year out. And so Chadd, like, where were you when you got started? What were you doing before you did real estate? Why was it you wanted to get involved in real estate? Give us your, background and story, man.
Sure. So when I started, I was a distribution center manager for, it was a medical supply company, and basically I hated my job. But I think once my son was born.
That doesn't resonate with any of our listeners. All of our listeners love their job, so that's not really going to play around.
Hold on a second. Before, you jumped in here, and I got a question already. What is a distribution manager? What did you do?
So it was basically supply chain. So anything like people would place orders, and as a distribution center manager, my goal was to make sure all the orders were picked, packed, and shipped for that day. And it was medical supplies. Okay. So accuracy was a big focal point. Obviously, if you're ordering medical supplies, you don't want to get the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it was a 60, 70 hour a week job for 60 grand a year. And I had my son, and I wanted to be there for my son. So that was my FTE. In DeMarco's book, Unscripted, it's F this event is, and that was my F this event, right? My son being born, I was like, I'm not working 60, 70 hours a week, not being able to get him off the bus, not being able to go to his games, not being able to coach his games because of some mandated work schedule. So that's really what fueled my fire initially. And then everybody, of course, a lot of people attribute Rich Dad, Poor Dad as being the book that made the difference. And that was one of the first books I read. I've read probably 200 more since then. But I can tell you, like, that's really what changed my mind. And when I did my first deal, it wasn't a wholesale deal because I made a big mistake. I didn't have any buyers. So I went out, got a great deal under contract. I paid $58,000 for this. I still remember it to this day. And it was worth like $125. And I was like, this is a deal. It's in Camp Hill. It's a nice little ranch, 3-bedroom house. Like, so a friend of mine said, hey, I'll help you. I'll rehab it. He gave me a quote, and he did. He rehabbed it. We got it on the market. It had multiple offers, sold within a week, and I made like 40 grand on that deal.
Yeah.
And then my next deal was a real wholesale deal, and I made 9 grand. And then the switch is when you look at it's not necessarily about the money. It was trading my time for money. That's like $9,000 was 3 months at that hellhole of a job that I was at. Like that, and it only took me 3 hours to do that deal for 9 grand.
Yeah.
Right.
And like that's really the turning point for me. That's when like I was just like all in on real estate, and there's just so many different ways you can make money on real estate. But you got to pick one. I think you got to pick one, do it, know it, understand it before you branch out into something else.
So, Chadd, right now, the biggest issue that people seem to be having is finding the good deals, right? And I mean, I think that's probably the case across the board. I see it as a lender where I have a lot of people coming to me wanting funding on a project, and it's just not a good deal. I mean, the vast majority, and I guess that's probably the case in the best of times, but it seems like even experienced investors that have a pretty good marketing budget are challenged by the low inventory that we have in the market, and a lot of the options that many people have in their home. Let's talk about that first deal. Where'd it come from, and how have you been able to keep some consistency in your business as time's gone on?
Well, the first one came from a Bandit sign. Like, and honestly, I'm a big believer in Bandit signs. Like, people like you can send out. Like, everybody's trying all this new shit, right? They're doing these texts, they're cold calling. Like, I can tell you, Bandit signs work, direct mail works. You send the right message to the right list. And then, of course, you have to have some sort of ability to close the deal, right?
Right.
And I think with a lot of new investors or rehabbers, like, they have an advantage because they're not wholesaling and they're looking at their margins from the back end.
Yeah.
So there is a difference there. They can afford to pay more. And I think right now, what too many people try to do is force a deal instead of, you cannot like force a deal. If it's not a deal, it's not a deal. Like, you got to
say
give them a price, stick to your price, and maybe there's a little wiggle room, or maybe there's not, or maybe there's some other concession. Like, it's about solving problems. You figure out what their problem is. Maybe they need a new place. Maybe they need help moving. Maybe they don't want to take all their stuff. Yeah. Whatever the case is, you just solve the problem, and then you're better off ahead. It's not always about the money.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% on board with what you just said. I mean, I think wholesaling especially is all about solving problems, right? And because most of the time when people are willing to take a discount on their house, it's because they have a problem that is bigger than the money, at least in their eyes, right? Like, it's an insurmountable problem. And it's amazing once you have some experience in this business, how you can solve the problem really easy. A few $100s, you can hire a truck and some guys to load up, their household stuff to move them to the next place. And a lot of times people just don't see that. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to comment on here is it was only 9 grand. It's not like he was trying to do a $15,000 or $20,000 or $25,000 wholesale like I see a lot of people trying to do. He's like, you know what?
Wait. let me. It was only 9 grand because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I should have been a 15 grand deal, right? The point is, he made like 50 or 60 some thousand on that deal, and so hats off to him. I'm happy for him, but knowing what I know now, that could have easily been a 15 grand deal.
the point is that even small wholesales, when they're compared to what the average person makes a month, you don't need to do a whole lot of wholesales in order to really crush it in that business and pay for some marketing and set some aside for taxes and really just buy your lifestyle and buy your life back from a job. So that's awesome. So you've not only were you able to go full time and quit your job and everything like that, you also we were talking just before the air, just went on the air. You're down at a place you just recently bought in Myrtle Beach that is for your own personal use. You're down there for a long weekend. And why are you down there this weekend?
We're having furniture delivered, and I wanted to do a little painting and get it ready for the season.
Right.
So and to escape the snow.
become a real estate investor. Hang out at your beach house and drink beer at noon on a Thursday. You know, that's the commercial to sell our course right there. If we ever wrote one, Josh, that's all we need. Good thing there's no stress involved in being a real estate investor or anything like that either. So it's just all easy.
So Chadd, well, I always like to ask this from wholesalers because you're doing a lot more transactions than the normal real estate investor who's flipping houses. You know, I mean, you get somebody that's making 40, 50,000 on a deal. You might do. You're a pretty big fish if you're doing 12 a year, right? But you interact with a lot of homeowners. What's your craziest story?
Oh.
See, we put him on the spot.
Yeah, I'm thinking craziest.
Or unique, whatever. What were some of the things that you had to trade to get the equity that you needed on these properties? Like, what are some of the problems you solved? Let's put it that way.
Well, I can tell you. Well, here's one, but this is like an actual good thing. Like, whenever we went to the closing table, I think what really hit home that we're actually helping these people was when the lady cried, gave me a hug, and was just so thankful that we were able to get her out of the situation. It's not like a crazy story, you know, like that you would typically, but it was really eye-opening to me that, you know, we are bringing value and helping people, right? We always get a bad rap for taking advantage of people, right? But that's not what we're doing.
Right.
We are helping people get out of a situation they would have not been able to get out of on their own.
Right. I think that's so true. You know, Josh and I think we told our listeners about this. Josh and I did a deal together a couple months ago, and it was basically a dad who was trying to sell a house at an unreasonable price for way too long. And eventually Josh and I were able to come in and deal directly with the son and give him a terms deal. So the dad is like, I'm still getting my price, but there was like a terms element of it. And so we felt a whole lot better about it, and we were able to get it done. And how about it, Josh? Like, I mean, that son certainly wasn't the hugging type, but like if he would have been somebody else, we would have gotten a hug from him, right? Like that's how much value we brought to his life. And that just felt really good.
Well, I actually talked to him last week.
Okay.
He reached out to me just to check on the project, and again, thank us for buying the house.
Right.
It's pretty crazy. But I mean, like I closed on a short sale last week, and like it made me think of the first short sale that I ever did, where I actually was in touch with the bank and going through that process. And this is like, I don't know, 2007 or 2008. But it reminded me, I bought this house, ended up assigning it and wholesaling it or whatever, but there were 27 cats in this house, and they had 9 dogs living in the basement, and the neighbors only ever saw 1 dog. So you can imagine what the house looked like. It was insane. The reason that so the city came in and shut the house down, kicked everybody out. But it happened because somebody walked by and smelled like a dead body was outside. Right? That's the kind of craziness I was kind of thinking of. You run into all sorts of stuff. It's really normal to go into the house and it's like well kept, like like your neighbor says. It's a lot different. It's when you get something that's a little bit outside of the ordinary.
That's not my background noise. I think that might be Chad, by the way.
Oh God.
No worries. Hey, so Chad, I have a question. Tell us what you did tell us what you intended to do in 2020, and then tell us what ended up happening with 2020.
So what actually happened is I ended up keeping everything that I bought. So like a lot of the people that were buying wholesale deals from me are checking in, asking if I'm still alive and what's going on, why I haven't given them any deals. But the reality is I just kept them. So so I have like 20 some rental units that are that I've got renters in, and like that's been a learning experience in itself. So
yeah. So are you just doing buy and holds right now? Or are you looking at other opportunities as well?
Yeah, I'm just on buy and hold. So everything that I own single family homes, but I am thinking about moving into mobile home parks because I think there are better opportunities there.
Okay. As my friend Ray Alcorn says, who we've got to have on the show, as my friend Ray Alcorn says, not much goes wrong with dirt.
Right. The repairs are a lot easier.
Right. So it's a different animal, and I was talking about this. I moderate the Central PA Real Estate Investors page, and was it you or was it somebody else who said, "Hey, what's the story with mobile home parks? Are they a good investment or aren't they a good investment?" And I said, "You can make money in mobile homes or lose money in mobile homes. You can make money flipping or lose money. You can make money, in A paper or in C class neighborhoods or lose. It all depends. It's all a matter of what you." Are going to do. So Chad, you do 20 some deals a year as a wholesaler, mostly yourself. Like you're the one who takes so you do Bandit Signs and direct mail and other things like that. Call comes in, you take that call, you go on the appointment, you negotiate the deal. Is that what your system is?
Yeah. Yep. It's all me. Like, honestly, at that level, like, I don't see the need to have anybody else. Like, got plenty of time to do that.
Yeah, see, I love that. I love that because unfortunately, sometimes by the time you find out that somebody's successful and like you want to interview them and have them on your show, they're like, "Oh yeah, I've got 3 acquisitions guys and I've got a marketing guy and then this is the guy who oversees my projects and blah 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 blah." And I'm like, that's not relatable to somebody out there who's looking to quit their job. So that's why I wanted to have you on here, Chad, because you're just like a dude who's like, I hang up some Bandit Signs, I get some calls, I go meet some people, I get the property under contract, I put it out to my list, and somebody buys it for a little bit more.
Yeah. And that's it's really that simple though. I think some people just overcomplicate things, right? Like you can just put out Bandit Signs or direct mail and make a good living, and it can just be yourself. It doesn't, like I know a guy that's doing 5 wholesale deals and he's got an acquisitions manager, and I'm like, why would you be splitting all that cost? Like, honestly, you can't do 5 deals. Like, I could do 5 deals in 7 hours. Like, what?
What doesn't take that much.
Yeah. Or are you that busy that you need to pay? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, you must have a massive buyers list, huh?
It's 300, but in reality, though,
it's 3.
Right. I was just gonna say he's. So we've talked about this all the time. People are like, "Oh, I want to build a 15,000 people buyers list." You've got a 300 people buyers list, and I'm sure the active section of your buyers list is what, like 15 people?
10.
Yeah.
Right. That's all you need.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And I'll bet there are people that have cash. They have performed in the past, and they're probably going to lowball you on your price, but you know they're going to close.
Now they know, so they know, right? And I think a lot of mistakes people make is like not being transparent. Just be transparent. Yeah. Like they want you to make money because if you don't, you're going to go out of business.
Right.
So anybody with business savvy knows that you need to make money as a wholesaler so that you can keep being in business so that you can bring them more deals.
Yeah.
Right.
And they know their numbers. So like you get good buyers, they know their numbers, they know where they're going to come in at, and they make you an offer. And like sometimes you can get them up and say, hey, look, I really need to make this on this. Here's what I bought it for. You know,
yeah.
Can I at least make $5,000 or $7,000 or whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
And just be honest.
So any trouble, Chadd, with getting a property under contract that then you couldn't end up closing, or you couldn't get, somebody to buy it, or you had to back out of the deal for one reason or another?
I did have one, and then I had to go back and renegotiate the price.
Right. This is another point that I want to make here. When people have acquisition managers, when you're a real estate investor and you have an acquisition manager, something like 50% of your deals aren't going to close, which means 50% of the time you're breaking somebody's heart and you're lying to them. When it's a solo entrepreneur like Chadd can get the deal done. Chadd knows how to get the deal done because the only person making the promises that Chadd has to live up to is Chadd. When you've got other people on your team, sometimes they write checks that your ass can't catch. And so I think that's another important lesson here.
Yep, I agree. And part of it's knowing your buyers and then knowing your numbers, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. All right, so let me ask you a question. So this past year, you don't have to get into specifics or anything like that, but you kept all your deals. So you became a whole lot more bankable, had a whole lot more cash of your own sitting aside, and you used hard money to take them down and then rehabbed them and refinanced them, or just kind of roughly what did the last year look like as it sounds like you were probably burning a lot of these properties, buy, rehab, renovate, refinance, repeat, right?
Actually, I was buying them in pretty decent condition. Some of them I had to put a little money in, but yes, I would take them down with private investors' money and then refi them out. So I'm actually in the process of refining out most of that all into one loan right now. So
you got a blanket mortgage on, say, 15, 20 properties.
Yeah. Yep. One portfolio loan. Yeah.
Nice. Just make sure, Jay, as somebody who spent 15 years in the mortgage industry, that's how, when we met, I think I was in the mortgage industry. Just make sure you negotiate with the bank what your release is, that they'll do individual releases so you can individually sell off those properties if you need to.
Right. Like that's not my plan, but I know anything can happen. So
yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. So
if one neighborhood skyrockets in value and you're like, hey, I want to sell that and harvest some of that equity, and sure, I'll give the bank some of it to pay it down, but I want the flexibility to be able to do that.
Right. Yeah, that's smart.
You mentioned something about transparency to your buyers. So I have had deals where, I'm going to closing in the morning, closing's at 10 o'clock, and I get a call from my buyer and he's like, hey, I see you're making $25,000 on this deal. I want you to cover my closing costs, or I want you to do this. I want you to do that. And it used to drive me insane when, you got the contract, you got everything, but if they back out, you get zero, right? And you got a tip-off seller. It's a really tough situation to be in. And then one of my friends, competitors, whatever, he started putting his assignment fee on his contract with the buyers. And it changed my perspective when I was looking at those type of deals. And it just made me think about it. What was your eureka moment that when you started sharing that information with your buyers?
Well, I just think, that you gotta tell them, especially, or where you need to be at, and see if they can meet you. Like in your case, I would have told the guy, like, No, you agreed on price. If you don't want it, I got 10 other people that would probably take this deal.
Yeah.
So, and I would probably, if he were to make another offer again on another property, like I'm going to take, even if I make $2,000 less, I'm not going to deal with that crap.
Right.
So I look at the offers not only from a money standpoint, but is this guy going to close, or is he going to jerk me around the day of closing like your guy that you were talking about? Because I don't want to do business with that type of buyer.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And I'll tell them that. I don't have a problem telling them that at all.
Yeah,
I'll do your closing costs. It'll probably be the last deal that we do.
Well, exactly. And, with this guy, we went from a $5,000 deposit to a $10,000 deposit on every deal. And if he's going to walk away from $10,000, he does. But I also started adding my assignment fee on the bottom of the contract, so that if you're going to argue about it when you're dealing with the contract, not when you're walking into a settlement. And
right.
That's the biggest issue I've seen with a lot of wholesale deals, is like nobody cares how much you make until you tell them, and then all of a sudden it's insane. But
yeah, there's a lesson here, and I don't want to get overly preachy, but like it's a similar to like a religious lesson. Like there's a business lesson here that's like, as soon as you act out, as soon as you just in confidence say, I'm worth X, and that's scary, or I'm willing to walk away from this deal, that's scary. It's almost like as soon as you start tithing, or as soon as you start trusting God, like it's scary to do that at first, but then the benefits happen afterwards, and you're like, I wish I would have done that sooner. So like that same religious mindset, like walking in faith, it's the same thing in business. Like you just have to know, you know what, I'm worth X. And this is what I'm worth, and this is what I'm going to do. And if I have to walk away from this deal, or if I have to do this or I have to do that, I'm just going to expect and anticipate that good stuff is going to happen. And it's scary at first, and you might even get some skinned knees and bruises at first, but eventually it doesn't take long at all until you start saying, I wish I would have acted as if sooner. I wish I would have had confidence in myself sooner, because the market is only going to have as much confidence in you as you have in you.
That's right.
Yeah. Chadd, so what do you think is coming in 2021? We heard a whole lot of people a year ago saying we're like 2 to 3 months away from a crash. And then we had a pandemic, which basically put everything on pause. And now the talking heads are pretty well split on, real estate's going to look good or real estate's going to look awful. Josh and I generally take the view that, especially in central Pennsylvania, there's more good indicators than bad indicators for at least the next 2 years or so. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I think that right now everybody's buying. Like, I don't think you should be like trying to buy anything right now. As a matter of fact, I would be selling at this point. But I'm not. But I'm not buying anything new just because prices are like outrageous right now. So yeah. I think it's going to be strong. I think there's going to be a lot of lagging indicators that, such as defaults, they went up in December. Yeah. So you just got to look at those lagging indicators and understand what the foreclosures are going to look like. But at the end of the day, regardless of the economy, there's opportunities in every market, down markets, up markets. You just don't want to be caught on the wrong side. So as far as real estate goes, there's going to be an opportunity to make money. Do you have to pivot sometimes? Maybe.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. Totally be ready to pivot. Always be ready to pivot.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So if you were talking to somebody that was just getting started, or had never bought their first property, what would be your advice right now with the market the way it is, or even aside from the market, as far as being successful in the world?
This is easy. Go out there and start making offers. Like, honestly, just go out there and make offers.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Especially if you have a contract that you got like 20 outs, like my contract does. You know, people sit there and they read and analyze, but they don't do anything. Like the single biggest thing they can do is just go out there and take action.
Yeah.
Go out there, start making offers, right or wrong. It doesn't matter. Like learn how to negotiate. You know, maybe you don't get the price, but you're learning something. You only learn by doing. Yeah. You don't learn by reading.
Right.
So
it's awesome.
And I'm a big reader. Like I'm a big proponent of reading, getting new knowledge, learning as much as I can, but then go out there and just take action, go do something. Put out bandit signs, start calling realtors, making offers on properties, call for sale by owners, do whatever you have to do to like get a deal and start learning how to negotiate.
Yeah, you should call I tell everyone this, call every single We Buy Houses sign, call every single for sale by owner, and call every single for rent. If it's a private individual renting the house, guess what? They could be a tired landlord who got a vacant rental. They might sell it for pennies on the dollar. Call them up and see what you can negotiate with them.
Or if you want to get into landlording, they might be open to a terms offer or seller finance. At least then they know they're getting their money and they don't have to deal with tenants, so they're going to be open to that. So
I did a bunch of terms deals with tired landlords. I just took that real quick. I just asked them. I said, "So what are you getting a month in rent?" And they're like $1,000. They said, "Okay, well, how many months in the past 2 years has it been vacant?" And 2. And then okay, well, and how much have you done in rehab? Well, I've done $5,000 worth of maintenance and repairs. Okay, so that's $7,000. I take $7,000 divided by 24. Subtract it from 1,000, and so you're not really getting $1,000. You're actually getting, whatever this number is. If I pay you that every month, guaranteed, will you, rent to own the property to me? And then I just turn around and rent it out to somebody else. I mean, I did a bunch of deals like that. And guess what? Just like Chadd said, almost everyone said no. So many people said no to that. So many people called me crazy. So many people said, why would anybody do that? But guess what? 5 or 6 people a year would say yes. And it was just 5 or 6 people a year that I then had that I was adding to that portfolio that I was building.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. It's awesome. All right.
Chadd, we got to have you on again and talk about bare knuckles marketing and what you're doing out there to get your phone ringing and finding deals and things like that. You were a great guest, my friend, and don't you go anywhere. Josh and I are going to sign off. Dear listeners, thank you very much for joining us, and be sure to share this and and get some other people to watch this who are sitting there saying, I'm ready to go, because guess what? If you just do what Chadd did, which is just simply go, there's nothing that's stopping you from doing 20 deals in 2021.
That's right.
The only thing stopping you from doing 20 deals in 2021 is you. You can do it. And I'm sure, that Chadd, his first year was still, working that 70-hour job, right? You didn't quit your job right away.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Right. So it just takes the you deciding what did you call that? The FU moment, or the what was that called?
Yeah. F this event.
Right. F this event, FTE. You just an FTE moment for you to say, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I want different for myself, and go out there and get it.
Awesome.
I love it.
Awesome. All right. Hey, if you like the show today, don't forget to like and share. We'll be back here tomorrow with all the news that's all the news that's fit to print or watch or whatever you want to say. Thanks, guys. Go make some money. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
See everybody.